All right, this is one that I've been made a whole video about it already, and talked about it many, many times. Signed many, many copies of it, and you can watch it free on Tubi right now. And that's how we can line this up. You listening to my commentary track, and that is Swamp Zombies 2, uh, uh, co-written by myself and Len Kabaczynski, directed by Len Kabaczynski. When I'm shooting this right now, just this previous weekend. I was in Akron, Ohio for Monster Fest Mania, and Len was there, and it's the first time we've had a chance to like chat since the premiere of the movie, actually. So that was pretty cool. I still have my pitch for part three, Len. But what I figured we would do is for the Patreon exclusive, I would post up, you know, how this movie came to be, and then so you get a little extra bonus inside baseball, and then the full review will be here and then on YouTube for free, but without all the preamble, cool, juicy stuff. So let's go way back to 2012, 2011. I was living down just 2012. I was living down the Jersey Shore, southern New Jersey, and there was a big tropical storm coming. And usually, if it's like that, they'll evacuate the island, so people have to go somewhere else. So everyone in my family and my friends and everyone was like, "Get off the island! You can't stay." Whatever. I knew it wasn't gonna be that bad, but I gave in and I left, and I went to stay with my parents for a couple days in South Jersey. And while I was there, was going through YouTube while doing laundry and shit like that. And I used to be a big Red Letter Media fan back before they talked shit on me about the whole fucking Cinemassacre Monster Mania thing. So back when I used to watch them, they did a best of the worst episode about kung fu movies, and they had Len Kabaczynski on. And I didn't know Len, but in the review, they showed stuff from his other movies, and they showed the Blue Meanie. Oh, I dropped the DVD, the Blu-ray. They showed the Blue Meanie, and I knew the Blue Meanie from my years of running Hall of Heroes in the mall. He used to date Jasmine St. Clair. He was the ECW wrestler. And I knew that he was the neighbor of my friend Justin Daniels when they were growing up. So I reached out to Len, and I was like, "Oh, it's a small fucking world, man. Like, I know this guy." And he got back to me, and we were chatting a little bit. And it was never really anything beyond that, just like comparing. Like, he really liked the 2005 movie Doomsday, and I think that's a badass fucking movie as well. So we've gone back and forth about those kind of movies, and collecting movie posters and stuff like that. But it wasn't until like 2015, Casper Van Dien, the actor, put out he was in a Power Rangers like R-rated fan film, and I thought, well, this is a good idea. It's getting a lot of press. What if we did something like Barney? So I said, let's do Barney, but as like a Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra kind of thing, mixed with Nightmare on Elm Street. So we shot this short with Abby, my friend Abby, as the lead, and then Chuck Bennett, who's an actor who I met when I used to run the Pittman Theater. He used to do children's theater, and Christy Berger came out. My ex, who passed away, came out and did makeup effects for it, and we shot this really fun, really dark, twisted, like thing about Barney, where the kids who were in the show, it was actually a test thing. Like it was how the government uses a neurotoxin on confined communities, and makes them see things and hear things. So all the kids having adventures with Barney were actually part of this government plan. And then we cut to years later how the kids are fucked up now, and how they still see Barney, but he's like this twisted version. But one of the pictures of me directing, I have the Barney head on, and Len commented on that, and he's like, "Oh, pretty cool. We should do something one day." And I had just taken over the Broadway theater, or the Anthony Wayne Theater. And I was like, what? I'm gonna pitch this fucking dude a script. I'm gonna pitch him a sequel to Swamp Zombies, because Swamp Zombies at that point was the only one of his films that I'd seen more than once. And I thought, there's a lot we could do with a sequel to this if we did it sort of like. Oh, my laundry's done. See, only Patreon exclusives get to hear my dryer finish. If we did it like RoboCop meets Gremlins 2, like a non-sequel mixed with Escape from New York and stuff like that. And I knew I had certain elements already in place that I could write around. I knew certain actors so I can get to come on board. I knew certain locations I could get to come on board. I knew I used to be really good friends with the horror host, Mr. Lobo. He doesn't talk to me anymore because he chose the other people. One of our leads, Crystal Quinn, used to be my girlfriend. So I knew I could write her a juicy part. I knew I could be in it as well. I knew that Justin Daniels could come and play a really good part. And like all the Midnight Show people I could put to work in stuff. And I knew like Ryan Hickey from Monster Masks, and I knew Joe Lascola from Movie Dumpster. Those guys I used to be friends with before they also chose to go over and follow Clout. And Christy Berger, my ex, another one of my exes, could come out and do makeup and stuff like that, and we could put it together. And I'll put my own money into it. So I wrote Swamp Zombies 2 in 3 days, cobbled together some script stuff from some other abandoned screenplays that I had written. I had a script that was just called Lucky Stiffs, and it was about people on a zombie reality show, so it was a bit like The Running Man almost, but it was all like, degenerates and stuff like that, like kind of battle royale where like there was an overabundance of like bad kids and like how do we deal with them. This one was like there's a bunch of fucking freeloaders and they all think that they're like kind of like the I want a free boat on The Simpsons was the idea. Take a bunch of government assistants, freeloaders, and scumbags and put them in a place where they all think that they're special and they're going to be, winning some big cash prize. But it's really it's the old like if we put government prison executions on TV as pay-per-view kind of thing. So I coupled those pieces together. Len was the only person who was going to be coming back from the other movie, so I put him in a prison, and Lobo's character is the executive of this TV station, and he basically buys Len's freedom as long as he goes in and takes care of this problem with a with a hacker who's going to expose the shady things that have been going on. So I gave it a bit more scale than it had before, and Len liked the script. He's like, just give me like 60 something pages. So I cut some stuff out. Thought it'd be padded a lot more with like fight scenes and stuff. And then after 3 days of writing, and then a couple little nips and tucks, there were certain characters that he wanted. There were certain things he wanted those characters to do. I turned it in, and then we were good to go. And then it was literally just a matter of starting to put the pieces together to make this fucking thing. And it started out with I knew I had the summer camp in South Jersey where we filmed a lot of stuff. Pretty much all the stuff that you see out in the woods and in little bungalows was done at that camp in South Jersey, Liberty Lake. And then all the stuff where they're inside with all the set pieces was done at the Fright Factory in Philadelphia, which we left a lot of props behind, and then those props all wound up in Terrifier 2. I had cast everything, and then the day of shooting, some people just fucking bailed. The dude who directed Dark Military was supposed to play the part of the wealthy son, of the car place who's in the movie. And the fucking dude just bailed, nothing, just didn't show up. So I had to quickly find somebody to take that part. There were certain scenes that we had to take out because people didn't show up. Metz, who's my co-host, was supposed to have a scene where they turn into a zombie mid-blowjob and bite off a dude's dick. Just a bunch of, like, making shit up as we go because of the amount of people who didn't show up. Having people play more than one zombie. I played a zombie at one point, even though I'm one of the main fucking characters of the movie. And then just building the shoot around the locations that we have. And Crystal Quinn is one of the leads, but she doesn't show up until much later because of her work schedule. I don't know if she's still working in the same place she was then. We haven't spoken in 2 years. But, we had to shoot up to, like, everything was completely out of order and move things around. And then all the stuff with Lobo that we shot at the studio in Allentown, PA, had to all be in one day. So that was a lot of stuff all to do in one day. But yeah, it was all kind of all over the place and just keeping track of it. And, the on-set audio was pretty bad. So a lot of stuff is ADR'd in it. There was times when Len and I butted heads about stuff, about things that I wanted, that he didn't want to do, including the entire third act. He was supposed to get shot and then fight while injured to kind of the hero's journey. He didn't want to do that. So we basically had to throw the entire script away and make it up on the day because it was the last day we were allowed to have Fright Factory. And I was pretty fucking pissed off about that. I'm not gonna lie. It was one of those things where there used to be a running joke between Justin Daniels and my former friend Justin Silverman, where they would say interesting because that was Len's response to my honest thoughts on how the movie turned out. At the time, I was not very happy about this change to the third act. I also wasn't crazy about some of the scenes that we threw away and how some of the things were shot simply because I thought tonally it would be way too inconsistent. Now, granted, he went out and he reshot a whole new opening and dumped the ads that I had written and shot his own, shot a new ending, shot a new post-credit scene, and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say that, of my script, maybe we got 60% of it, because again, I'll bring up Crystal. This is one of the only times that she ever said, wow, this is a really good script. And then what we shot wasn't that, but it is what it is. And we're just there was not a lot of planning when it came to what the zombies would look like and stuff. It was very much of a let's go put on a show kind of thing. I kind of let the makeup effects people do their own thing and just make it up as they go. There's a lot of plot issues. The Pip-Boy thing on his arm, you could sometimes see where they didn't green screen in the map and shit, and it's a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense. Len didn't want to do muzzle flashes, so they just put their guns down, which I was just like, oh my god, whatever. Had I known that they wouldn't have done that, I would have written out that the guns were like a placebo, that they didn't actually work, so it would make sense in this regard, but we didn't get to that. All in all, though, it was just and I said this in my video that you can find on this on the main channel, is I literally just made this movie so I had an excuse to make a movie with my friends. We talked about making movies for so long and had been making Midnight Show and piecemealing it together over the years. And what was happening was I was working nonstop at the Wayne Theater. Things weren't moving like I wanted them to. And my then female friend who's in the movie, who I, was getting closer and closer to their boyfriend, and while we were still together, not really, we were drifting apart. So I made a movie to give us an excuse to be together, and that way I was like, okay, we made a movie, now we can make the next one. Well, we never got to make the next one, but we got to make this one. So it was really just an excuse to get people together and to prove that I could do it. In the long run, it's Edge's show, but I think Len's lighting and Scott, who shot its camera work in it, is sharp and looks a lot better than a lot of movies that cost this much money. While it's got people walking around in the woods, it's not a fucking Sean C. Phillips movie. There actually things happen. There's some fight scenes, there's nudity, there's gore. I tried to make it funny and self-aware. I think it was a lot of cooks in the kitchen because I didn't have the on-set experience to say no or to stand up for some of my ideas. But it is what it is. It's a B movie that we made for $5,000, and I got to make it with my friends, and we got to have a fucking premiere, and people seem to be excited to be making it. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know, the beginning and the end had to be redone, but it is what it is. But you know, it's Swamp Zombies 2. And you know, you're not going in looking for the taming of the shrew. I think it's Len's best looking movie now that I've seen everything. And it was a total learning experience for me on how to work better with a team, how to take, you know, direction from someone who's done it before, and for me not to think I know better than people. And as we go into the actual commentary of the movie, you know, I'll point out the things that I didn't love or the things that I did love and how stuff all came to be. But you know, I wish we would have made another one before everyone kind of broke off and went and did their own thing. I wish we had one more in us, because I think I learned a lot, and I was raring to go after we finished this one. But you know, I went to go work at Screenwave, and that broke up all those relationships. And Len and I didn't really see eye to eye after this movie was done. But you know, we just talked recently, and I hope that I can get him involved in something or can produce something for him, because I think he knows his vision is exactly what his vision needs to be for a Len Kabasinski movie, and I shouldn't have been trying to shoehorn in a Newt Wallen movie into that. And I think if I had the chance to do it again, I would do it differently. But you know, for the most part, it was really fun recently to see when I posted the pictures of the two of us together. So many people were like, Swamp Zombies 3, Swamp Zombies 3, and then actors who die in the movie were like posting ways that they could come back from the dead, which I thought was a lot of fun. I think it would be a little bit hard to make a third one if we continued on knowing that, you know, Lobo wouldn't come back, Crystal wouldn't come back, and you know, they survive, and Lobo would be the villain, because I already have the third script written. The third script is about Lobo starting a cult on an island of people who worship zombies, because he injected himself at the end and the government never found the body, and Len is basically dropped in with like a SEAL Team 6 type of group to fight you know, kung fu zombies. So it's a little bit of like Raw Force and shit like that, but we'll see what happens. So that's a little preamble that you get exclusively for checking out the commentary track on Patreon. And now let's get into Swamp Zombies 2.